Growing up, I was not exposed to classic or supercars. We did not have them and I did not see them on streets. Usually, classic cars are associated with older generation. Yet, I'm 26 years old with my 1973 Porsche 911T. The original 911s were produced from 1964 till 1973. Here we have a 911T, but there was also a 911S and a 911E. The Porsche 911 body style is special because it stood the test of time. It is one of the most loved and recognized sports car. I like it because without having any sharp lines, it still looks dynamic as if it was formed by wind. The only sharp lines you will find is on the hood. On the dash, we have the RPM, oil gauge, engine temperature, the pressure, fuel gauge, speedometer, and a clock. Inside the car, we also have two rear seats, 5-speed manual transmission, radio, and the heater. In 50s, 60s, and the early 70s, cars had 5-digit odometer that turned back to zero after 100,000 kilometers or miles. One of the features that I like is the rear window because of the way it opens. In the trunk, we have a full-size spare tire, fuel tank, and the battery. In Porsches, the ignition switch is located towards the left because in Le Mans race, they had running start, so it's quicker to turn the car on with left hand and shift with right. I love how open the car feels from the inside with this panoramic view looking over those perfectly round fenders. Because of the way it was designed, the car does not have any blind spots. So here we have our iconic Porsche flat 6 air-cooled engine. This particular engine is a 2.4 liter that came with the MFI system. So the MFI stands for mechanical fuel injection. So the MFI is located right here. Here we have our air intake and here is the oil filter. Usually I like to put a magnet in the end of the oil filter, so what it does, it catches all the loose metal that comes off the engine. And one more interesting fact is that these stickers, how you can tell if it's original or it's aftermarket is by looking at the end of the sticker, and if it has a serial number, that means it's original. This one is not original because it does not have the serial number. The reason why I like classic cars is because of the history, the unique driving experience, and the craftsmanship. Classic cars are like art that can be experienced. I also like to be in control while driving a car, with no electronics. Somehow classic car reset all your senses. First, I like to make one thing clear, that I don't like all classic cars. You know, there are some cars that are icons, for example the 911s, and in other brands there are other cars. But especially, you know, when it comes to 911, why I like the early 911 is, or classic 911 is, because of the uniqueness and the drivability. Not many classic cars, you know, you can drive daily. So this car, I bought it in 2014 or 15, and I've added a lot of kilometers on it. You know, for a while it was my daily driver. I would drive it every single day. And one thing that I've seen with older Porsches and even new Porsches is how reliable they are. They are the most reliable cars, and even their classic cars are super reliable. For example, this one. You know, they don't break down as much. You know, every day you wake up, you put the key in, boom, the car starts up. The second thing that I really like about this car is it makes me a better driver. You know, since I own this car, I realized that I've become a better driver, not just driving a 911, but driving all my other classic cars as well. And you know, the interesting fact about driving this car is that it's not like a newer car that you get in and you know exactly how to drive it. You really have to respect the machine because the front end is super light. So in the front we only have the tire, the gas tank, and the tools, right, and the battery. So the front end is very light, and the engine the engine is sitting really far back. So what happens most of the time when you're going fast, or on the turn you're on the throttle, the engine sitting so far back makes the car basically lift. So every time you're taking a corner, you have to load up the front end. So this is a very unique feature about a 911, because no other car has that, right? That the front end, you don't have an engine, the engine is at the back, all the way pushed to the back. It's a very unique feature that I like and makes me a better driver. The other thing is the historical value of the car. You know, as we all know, 911 has proven, or they are proving themselves year after another, right? They've been great cars for ages. And as we know, Ferdinand Porsche, he was a genius. And what he has done with the brand, few people can do it. And I also tell, some of my friends, they tell me, oh, you know what, you're 26, you should be driving a GT3 or something like that. Even though I like GT3s, but they don't do much for me, because it doesn't have the same connection, For this car, you build connection with older cars, right? You have to really take care of them. It's like your kids, So you have to take care of them. You have to make sure the oil is changed on the time. On all the other cars, you have to do it. But in this car, you are the computer. Whereas in older or newer cars, I'll say, the computer tells you, oh, it's the time to change the oil. The brakes are going. Check engine light. With this car, even while I'm driving, I cannot listen to music, for instance. Because if I'll be listening to music, I lose the connection between the engine and myself. Because this engine, the Flat 6, iconic engine, it's constantly talking to you. It's constantly demanding something from you. So you better be not listening to music while driving a long hood 911. The other things that I really like about this car is that everybody loves them, and there's a huge fan following. So if you buy a 911, any 911 technically, you know that you'll sell it in 3 days, unless it has no serious mechanical issues. You'll sell that car pretty big. I always tell my friends, I said, buy a car that has huge fan following, because it's easier to sell. There's a lot of information out there, and so these are the things that I like about my 1973 911T. I feel like our generation is missing out on something truly special. If you see me around town, don't hesitate to ask me for a ride. I will change your mind.